The notice arrives on a Tuesday. It is one page, official stamped, bearing Lord Davencreath's wax seal in the corner. It says, "The Rent family owes 412 gold marks on a loan. Their grandfather took out 41 years ago. Principal plus arrears plus penalty. Payable in full within 10 days or the land reverts to the estate." Cale Rent reads it twice. Then he walks to his mother's chair by the window and shows it to her in silence. She reads it once. "We've never borrowed from Creeth," she says. He knows. 3 generations on this land, and there is no record of any loan. Not in the family ledger, not at the village records office, not anywhere. It is a forgery. A clean, official-looking forgery, stamped and dated in ink that has been aged to match 41 years of paper. He goes to the village records master the next morning, with his family's entire bound ledger under his arm. Master looks at the page Cale points to. The date, the blank space where a corresponding entry should be, and then he looks at the seal on the notice, and he closes the ledger and hands it back. "That's a legal instrument," the records master says. "You'd need a court order to contest it." On day 10, Lord Creeth's bailiffs arrive with a cart. Cale's mother is standing in the front doorway when they come up the path. She doesn't move. One of the bailiffs, a wide man with a short beard and no patience, takes her by the arm to move her aside. She pulls away. He grabs harder. She falls. She doesn't hit the ground hard, but she is 61 years old, and the shock of it finds something that was already fragile. By the time Cale gets her to the village physician, her breathing is shallow. By the 3rd day after the eviction, she is gone. Cale is not there when she dies. He is in the village lockup, arrested that same afternoon for resisting a lawful property seizure when he shoved the bailiff who grabbed her. The cell is 2 stone walls and a locked iron door. He sits on the floor and stares at the crack of light under the door. He has nothing. No farm, no record that will be heard, no registry standing. The records master won't testify. The village council sent a written message to the lockup. They have reviewed the instrument and feedback. That is when the window opens. Not the cell window, a different kind. It appears in the air in front of him, pale gold, the edges sharp and precise. Text arranged like a legal document. Fraudulent property instrument detected. Chain of title breach. Confirmed rightful heir identified. Cale Rent, Rent Homestead, 3-generation clear title deed sovereign class. Unlocked sovereign register. Initialize 0500 deed site. He reads it once, the way his mother read the forged notice, then he stands up. The charge doesn't stick. There are no witnesses who will say in writing that Cale struck first, and the bailiff would rather the whole incident disappear. He is released the next morning with a warning and nothing else. He walks out of the lockup, and the world looks different. His sight is not dramatic. It doesn't glow or spark. It is simply there. A quiet layer of information sitting over every property in his line of sight, the way a man with sharp eyes might see threads in a weave. Every parcel of land, every building, every title. He can read its ownership chain back to original grant. And every chain he looks at in this village carries the same pattern underneath, the same forged lien template, the same fabricated loan dates, the same aged ink reproduced across property after property. Creeth's land office has been running the same instrument for 40 years, not just the Rent farm. The mill at the edge of town, forged lien, absorbed by Creeth 12 years ago. The Aldris family's orchard, forged, absorbed 9 years ago. The blacksmith's building in the square, forged, absorbed 6 years ago. The schoolhouse, 3 of the 4 inns. 14 properties in this village alone, all seized on the same fraudulent template, all now bearing Creeth's name on a chain of title that does not hold. Sovereign register, 14,500. Instruments absorbed. Cale walks to the regional registry bureau in the next town. He files each instrument with the chain of title documentation the sovereign register provides. Unbreakable provenance, self-verifying, every link time-stamped and traceable to original grant. The clerk at the window takes the first document. He reads it. He goes into the back room. He is gone for 20 minutes. When he comes back, he says the filing has been received and will be reviewed. Cale files the 2nd, the 3rd, 10th. Within a week, every one of them is lost. He has expected this. Overseer Harl runs the bureau. It has been paying him for a long time. So Cale goes to the regional court directly. This is different. Court filing cannot be lost the same way. The sovereign register knows this. It routes each document automatically, self-filing, self-tampering, creating a sealed record the moment it enters a legal proceeding. First clerk who tries to redirect him to the bureau finds the document has already been registered in the court's own ledger before she can pick. She looks at it. She looks at KL, she stamps it. Sovereign Register 47500. He does not stop at the village, he walks to the next one. The Sovereign Register told him something important the first night. Sitting in the dark with the pale gold window open, its fraudulent chain doesn't end at one village. It ends at the edge of his estate. 40 years, the same template, the same fabricated loans, for village after village, until the land office controls more than 3/4 of the province's farmland. 500 properties, 500 families who borrowed nothing and owe nothing, and have been paying rent on their own land for a generation. Sovereign Register 112,500. At some point, Creeth notices. A man with 400 properties doesn't feel 60 instruments disappearing from his portfolio like a stone dropped in a river, but 112 is a different matter. He sends men to find Kale. Kale sees them coming before they round the corner. Deed's sight doesn't only read land. It reads the legal standing of every person in range, every active warrant, every instrument bearing his name. There are none. Creeth's men have no warrant. They are just men with instructions. Kale keeps walking. Sovereign Register 203,500. At 203 absorbed instruments, the Sovereign Register goes public broadcast. This is not a choice Kale makes. It is a threshold the class has always held, waiting for scale. Every family provenance claim with a title dispute suddenly receives a transparent chain of title on their property through the register, delivered to the official public ledger. They can see, all of them at once, exactly where their deed breaks, exactly what instrument was forged, exactly when Creeth's land office replaced their name with his. The regional court is flooded. Harl stops answering his office door. 3 of Creeth's land office staff hand in their papers and disappear to the capital. Creeth sends a lawyer to offer a settlement. The lawyer sits across from Kale at an inn table in the 4th village and explains that Lord Creeth is prepared to return the rent homestead and 2 adjacent parcels, void the original debt notice, and provide a letter of formal apology. In exchange, all current and future challenges to Lord Creeth's provincial land holdings are to be withdrawn and sealed. Listens to the whole offer. No, he says. The lawyer blinks. Tell him we're at 247, Kale says. He'll know what it means. Sovereign Register 200,500. On the morning the register reaches 490, Lord David Creeth himself arrives at the regional courthouse. He has his personal legal counsel, 2 senior land office administrators, and 6 men who are meant to convey a certain weight of authority. He has filed a motion for emergency injunction, a procedural attempt to freeze all outstanding property disputes under review and force them into arbitration he controls. The courthouse clerk looks at the motion. He looks at the court's own registered ledger, which has been updating itself in real time for 6 weeks. He stamps the motion received. He does not stamp it granted, because at that moment, in the clerk's office, in front of Creeth's counsel, while the emergency motion is still warm from Creeth's seal, the register hits 500. Sovereign Register 500 absolute title, triggered all fraudulent instruments, dissolve deed sovereign, unranked above registry the title. The courthouse's bound official ledger, physical record, sitting on a shelf behind the clerk's desk. The one that predates any living official, rewrites itself. Every single page that carries a Creeth land, holding derived from a fraudulent instrument updates, in the official ink of record, to the name of the original rightful holder. 500 properties, 3 decades of seizures, reversed and rewritten in the span of a breath. Counsel reaches for the emergency motion. The clerk opens the ledger to show him. Creeth's name is on 31 pages of that ledger. None of them say what they said this morning. Creeth sits at the courthouse table. His counsel sits beside him, saying nothing. The village council from Kel's home village is in the room. The same council that sent the written message to the lockup 11 weeks ago saying, forged instrument was valid. The overseer Harl is also in the room, brought by court officers at 6 in the morning. Kale sits across from Creeth and says nothing. The sovereign register displays in the air above the table. Visible to everyone in the room, pale gold and precise 500 instrument chains laid out in full. Every date, every forged name, every family. Harl is the first to break. He begins talking before his counsel can stop him. 40 years of commission payments. Every falsified filing, every document he rerouted to keep the challenges buried. He talks for 11 minutes without pausing. By the end of it, court recorder's hand is still moving. Creeth signs the deed transfer documents in 3 batches. His hand shakes on the second batch. By the third, he has stopped looking at KL. The land dep notices across every village in the province, null out that afternoon. Families receiving their title papers by registered messenger before sunset. Kale walks out of the courthouse into late afternoon light. He takes the road south. When he reaches his family's farm, the Rent Homestead, 3-generation clear title, officially stamped and sealed in the ledger that will not be falsified again. He opens the gate and walks to the back of the property. His mother is buried under the elm tree at the edge of the cleared land. The grave marker is plain wood, the letters carved by hand. He sits down beside it and says nothing for a long time. The system window is still open, pale gold, floating quietly at the edge of his vision. Deed sovereign, unranked above registry, the title sovereign register. 505 absolute title. Permanent. He closes it. The light is long and flat across the field. The crops are gone. The season is wrong. The land unworked for 3 months. But the soil is good. It has always been good. He'll start again in the spring.